As a child growing up, you could count the available cheeses on one hand, and one of those was actually Velveeta. A lot more choices today, and I'm joined by Bill Stephenson of DPI Specialty Foods. They're a wholesale distributor, and Bill is the cheese specialist here, and he's going to share with us some information about cheese. And I think the first thing I want to talk about a little bit is about raw milk cheeses and the safety of them.
Right, so raw milk cheeses have been legal in the United States for many a year. And there are many raw milk cheeses that are on the marketplace right now that people have probably had and tasted and not even realized,
don't realize it's raw.
One way or another that it's raw milk. The reason that they are fundamentally safe, as viewed by the U.S. government, which makes them legal, is because of the inherent properties of cheese. It's a fermented food product. It has acid. It has salt.
Okay.
It has it has a loss of moisture, basically, to make the cheese. All those things make it a safe food product to be produced with raw milk. Doesn't mean that all cheeses are made with raw milk.
Okay. So what distincts a raw milk cheese from one that is not?
Right. So the law for the United States is that a cheese has to be made, it has to be aged for 60 days prior to being released, if it's to be made with raw milk. So any cheese that is less than 60 days old, when released by the cheesemaker, must be made with pasteurized milk. That's our law.
So the firmer cheeses are the ones that are going to be raw milk, and then the softer ones are not? Is that correct?
That's correct. That's it. And it's not a guarantee that all cheeses that are firm are made with raw milk, but they can be. And the softer cheeses, by virtue of the fact that they're going to be aged less than 60 days, must be made with pasteurized milk.
Okay, so this here?
So yeah, this is a mozzarella. This is, what do you think, a fresh product? So probably made with?
Pasteurized milk.
Exactly right. Whereas, we have the flagship here from Beecher's in Washington, which interestingly enough, can be made with either raw milk or pasteurized milk, not just because of the fact that it's aged more than 60 days, but because the cheesemakers themselves actually kind of have fun with the different flavors that they get out of a pasteurized milk version of their cheese and a raw milk version of their cheese.
Okay, all right, well, I'll give that one a try too.
Blues can be either. So Roquefort, for instance, would traditionally be made with raw milk, can't be made with pasteurized milk and still be called Roquefort. It must be made with raw milk. Whereas this beautiful Cashel Blue, which we have to taste, is an artisan cheese from Ireland, is made with pasteurized milk.
Nice. This has a lot more flavor. Love that too, but this has a lot more flavor. So besides the safety concerns that people have when they're having like a raw milk product, I know that there's other dietary concerns for people like vegetarians.
Right.
How does that work with what's vegetarian friendly with cheese?
The issue for vegetarians, we get asked this question a fair bit, is whether or not the rennet that was used. Rennet is what typically coagulates the milk, what brings the milk together into a solid mass to make cheese, whether that was derived from an animal source. And that's the most traditional way for cheesemakers to get rennet. But there are other options for cheesemakers today. So a cheese could be either. It could be made with rennet from an animal source or not. If they're calling us, it's because they couldn't find the information on the label.
So how do they find that information?
So yeah, label would be the first place, and if they can't find it there, they can ask the store where they bought it, see if they know. They can contact us as the distributor to see if we know. They can even contact the suppliers themselves to see if the supplier can tell them whether or not, which of course they could be able to tell them whether or not the cheese was made with a quote-unquote vegetarian rennet or a rennet that was derived from an animal source.
So it isn't always going to be on the label, so you do have to check if it is a dietary concern.
That's right.
So then the next one is also people that are considered vegan, and I'm thinking that probably a traditional milk cheese is not going to fit that diet.
That's right, right. So a vegan would not really be able to consume any of these products because of the milk source. So there are products out there that are cheese products for vegans. They're typically soy-based, and we have for viewing a soy-based cheddar. So it's cheddar-flavored cheese food product, and it exists for people that are either vegan or just not able to consume any kind of dairy whatsoever.
Cheese for all diets.
Cheese for all diets.
So if people want to learn more about cheese, you've got a kind of a cool website they can take a look at?
Right. So we have a website. There's a little link on our website called Cheese University, where people can plug in, information about a cheese that they want to learn, a name, what have you, and kind of learn a little bit more about the cheese to see if it might be made with this or that rennet, for instance. And if you can't find the information there, then there's always our phone number or contacting the supplier directly.
Okay, great. Well, we'll have a link at fusionnw.com. And thank you for the education. Appreciate it, Bill. Thanks.